Nutshell co-founder and CTO Andy Fowler has spent the past decade building the best CRM and sales automation tool on the market, one that actually helps sales teams close more deals without getting in their way. However, sales and marketing teams still suffer from some major challenges that today's business software simply doesn't solve. Joined by Nutshell Head of Growth, Mike Carroll, to discuss Nutshell's recent past as well as the future of sales and marketing software, please welcome Nutshell's fearless co-founder, Andy Fowler.
All right.
Hey, Andy.
Morning, Mike.
How you doing, man?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing really good.
So I want to set this up for everybody a little bit. What we want to talk about today is the next evolution for Nutshell. Nutshell's been in business for 10 years, which is pretty uncommon from a software perspective, from any business perspective. We've gone through some of the same sort of structural changes and the same optimizations that many businesses have gone through. We experienced many of the same problems. But I think we're most excited to talk about, at least I am, I know you know I am, to talk about the alignment, or not the alignment, like the killing the tension between sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So what did it look like before I got here? I mean, I only know obviously what I know since I got here. So what was sales and marketing like before MC?
Yeah. Well, it's been an interesting journey, and I think one that probably mirrors a lot of our customers. And like a lot of software businesses, we got started with a team of designers and engineers, and we had an idea of what we wanted to build, and we were got off to the races and started building our product, and we had something ready to go. We actually stood on a stage. I was even more nervous then than I am now in front of a bunch of people and shared the first version of our CRM product. But what sales looked like at the time was we hired one sales rep, and I sat over her shoulder, and she talked to everyone who came to our website and had a question about our product and who was in trial. And I was just sitting there, and our engineering team was sitting over her shoulder listening to what prospects had to say. And our marketing efforts were pretty blunt. We designed a good web page, and we just started feeding $8,000 a month to Google, and that's what marketing looked like for Nutshell's.
Only 8,000?
Yeah, it was a different time, I suppose. But that was sales and marketing in our first couple of years, and it was really successful for us. But I think what was really useful about it is that sales was so close to product. We knew exactly what prospects were saying about our software, what they needed, what was missing. There was a lot of stuff missing, as you can imagine, on day one. But we were able to adapt to that quickly. So, at that point, I think it was a lot about sales and product alignment that was really important to us. And then so as the company grew and we kind of gained traction and we started to invest in different parts of the business, we built out a marketing operation. We hired a head of marketing and sort of professionalized that team, raised a little bit of money to invest further in that. And, things got really exciting. We went from a few hundred leads a month of people checking out our product and to thousands a month. And so that marketing team was very successful at getting people in the door. And, they were measuring the number of leads we were getting. We were seeing thousands, and we were measuring the cost per lead. And it was great. We had this pipeline of prospects. And we're like, this marketing effort is doing well. Now it's time to expand our sales team to take advantage of that pipeline. And if people who are listening have been through that before, they probably realize that doesn't exactly always work that way, right? You don't build a bunch of leads and then build out a sales team to close those.
It's not that easy.
Yeah. And so that was kind of what we learned, as we've been growing. And so we kind of got to the chapter that we're at today.
Yeah, when I got here, one of the things that I was, that attracted me to the job in the first place was actually you guys talking about the need for someone that could do both the sales and marketing side, and that's actually a rare person. And I'm not even saying that I'm the end all be all of that. I had a little bit of experience on the sales side when I worked, for an agency. But why do you think the teams are so disconnected? What was the problem that occurred that brought this up, that needed the alignment between sales and marketing?
Yeah, well, I think there's a handful of things there, right? There's a tension that forms when you have different leadership, right? And the leadership has different goals. Marketing is being measured on and is working toward a deep lead pipeline. They're working on the messaging and the positioning of the company and the product and communicating what it does to the world. And then you hire sales teams that are there to close those deals. And so having different leadership in place that has different metrics that they are measured by is one of the big sources of tension there. And I think the other thing, which of course is close to your heart and to mine, is technology underneath of that, right?
Yeah.
So when these teams are using different tools and they're measuring different things, that can create tension because they're not seeing what the other person's seeing.
Yeah, I think the common thing in, I don't know, I want to call it the marketplace or the industry, I guess, in sales and marketing, is that it's a people problem.
Right.
But you think it's a technology problem?
Yeah, I think it's both, right?
Sure.
There's equal parts to that, but even when you have great teams, and through all of Nutshell's growth, we had people that were aligned and working toward the same thing, and assumed good intent from everyone. But when you have different goals in mind, you end up with that tension. And when you have different pieces of technology that are telling you whether things are working or not, that's when that tension sort of appears, right? This marketing team software says things are looking good here, and the sales team might not necessarily be seeing the same thing.
Right. So I probably have an opinion about this, but I want to ask you, which is, what does a growth team look like? What's the difference, I guess?
Yeah. What does a growth team look like? Well, that was sort of what we were trying to put our finger on as we hired you, Mike, and I think you've done a really good job of cultivating that. But as we sort of looked at what the company had and what the company needed, we witnessed that tension between sales and marketing, and we knew that the next chapter needed that kind of unification there, and it would be someone who could understand it. The conversation you had with Barb was terrific, right? You guys talked about people sort of hopping up and down the funnel, and that it not being a linear process, and hearing that really connected with me, right? We see that all the time. Someone will come to our website, they've got a problem, they're looking for CRM software. Maybe they talk to Jared or Nicole or someone on our team, and they kick the tires of the product for a little while, but then they go back and they kick around the website and they're reading the content that we're building and they're learning from the blog. And so this is not a linear process. And so having a team that is aware of that knows that marketing supporting sales and sales is supporting marketing is a crucial part of a growth team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
You could answer that better than I could.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more, obviously, but I think, I watched, speaking of Jared, I watched him pick up a lead that floated away for about a year and then found Boundless and then came on back. And I guess my next question to you is why are we tackling this now? This is obviously, like Barb said and other speakers have said, this is the almost age-old problem in the modern era between sales and marketing. It's almost a joke at this point, right? Why tackle this now? What's the immediacy, I suppose?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, and I have to admit that, as I've learned and grown in my career, it definitely makes sense. You now hear this, the people beating the drum of sales and marketing alignment, but it wasn't necessarily what I was thinking of when I was growing the business. You kind of focus on one thing at a time. You're like, okay, now we need leads, and we're going to go and build that marketing team, and now we need to close those leads, and we're going to build the sales team. And so I think there's a certain level of experience that we didn't always have. But, for us and thinking about growth teams and why this matters now, that's coming straight from our customers. And, everyone that we're talking to has these same challenges. Just earlier this week, our product designer and I, Maddie, were talking with a customer actually here in Michigan. And it was someone, she was on a marketing team. She was writing emails to help her sales team start conversations and keep conversations warm. And she was, saying she would be going straight from that task to hopping over to MailChimp, and she was trying to send sort of a targeted message. This company does, they apply some sort of compound to factory roofs. And
man, I love the businesses that end up working with us. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
right?
Incredibly interesting, something I never would have known existed. But they were trying to get a hold of businesses somewhere in Midwest where there'd been a hailstorm, and so they they have all of this information in the CRM. They know who the businesses are that they're staying in touch with, but they're trying to reach out and send an email marketing campaign that says, hey, here's how weather impacts your factory's roof. And she was sort of hobbled by the disconnect between the software that her sales team was using and her email marketing product.
Why do you think, and this is, I experience this problem every day, right? It's odd, I suppose, to admit that because we are at a software company. Obviously, I use Nutshell, and it's still a challenge despite all the tools that, that our team gives the growth team here. Why has nobody solved this problem yet? It's the most obvious problem that seems to need to be solved. So I'm curious, why you think no one's tried to tackle it. Is it just too hard, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of things to it, and the tasks of sales and marketing teams are incredibly diverse, and the rules of physics are changing on you as you go, right? The way that people use email now is different from how people used email, 5 or 6 years ago. We create drip campaigns that are going out to people who are in our trials, and tools like Outreach and Mixmax are helping individual sales rep try to make contact at companies. So the landscape moves very quickly, and I think that's one reason why this is such a struggle.
And do you think that's also because, or why rather, all the tools that we use, whether it's an Outreach, a Reply, MailChimp, a Nutshell, your CRM, sales automation tools, are so siloed themselves is because they're a reflection of like a compartmentalized approach to that?
Yeah, no, I think you're actually you're totally right, and there's. I'll get academic for a second, right? There's Conways Law, right, which is this sort of I think it was a computer scientist who put this together. It basically said the products that we build are sort of a reflection of our own organization, right? If you have an institution where you have sales as a group over here and marketing as a group over here, you will build products and you will interact with your customers and you will act as a company and have the same image as you are organized internally. And so when you look at a Salesforce.com, for instance, to throw some shade there, that product is designed and it works well for businesses like Salesforce.com that have territories and regions and very strict sales-heavy companies, but marketing is a completely different operation. So I think we're seeing software that's a reflection of how businesses are formed. But for customers like ours, that everyone is wearing a lot of hats.
Yes.
Something that and probably a lot of our customers know. When someone is purchasing our product, they are often the founder of the business or the owner of a business. They're not just wearing a sales hat. They recognize all of these things need to work together. So in some ways, the small and mid-sized companies are probably arriving at this sooner than the big businesses.
Yeah, they have the luxury of being able to throw people and money at problems,
Exactly.
and small businesses do not have that luxury.
Yeah.
So what do you think the major gaps are with the current tools we use? Like, what's the actual problem we're going to solve?
I think there's a big problem in attribution, right?
Yes.
There's people coming to your website. Maybe you have advertising campaigns that are getting them there. Maybe you have content programs that are bringing them there. But by the time your sales team is talking to those leads, you don't know where they came from and what original problem they are trying to solve. And that's, as we keep hearing this morning, understanding the problem that your prospect is trying to solve is incredibly important. And if that data is there, but it's an incredible gap that we're seeing. So that's a huge piece. And then of course that feedback loop into reinvesting in those channels that are working for you is a big missing piece right now.
So that's a metrics thing, you think?
Exactly.
Is that these two teams are measuring two different sets of metrics, and they don't mean the same thing to one another, and so you can't make solid decisions.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, what are you most excited about? I'm even doing this a long time, man.
Yeah.
So this is a big killing the tension between sales and marketing and really setting out to do that is a big deal. So what most excites you about solving that problem?
Well, yeah, it's a very thorny problem to solve. It's an exciting problem to solve because we hear it every day from our customers. So all of those things make it really exciting. It's fun to work on big challenges. Actually, I think of Ben Chestnut, CEO of MailChimp, who says he works best with a furrowed brow. Right, like it's fun to work on a tricky problem. But I mean, personally, what gets me most excited about it is these problems to solve. Like we've got a good team to do that. Right, like
Absolutely.
This company is full of really bright people and people who have heard these problems from our customers and have been immersed in that for a long time and are capable and competent and eager to do that. So, I mean, that's more of a personal thing for me, I guess, but having this team ready to do that is what fires me up for this next couple of months.
Well, I like that we're going to, put our money where our mouth is, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're running out of time. I do want to kind of end this with the idea that this is a huge problem that we're going to try to solve that other people are not trying to address, honestly. We're excited to share the entire journey with everyone in this audience, with our customers. And so I hope that they follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter, sign up for the Sell to Win newsletter. And yeah, we'll be sure to share every little tiny moment along this journey as we figure this out. And I guarantee you we don't have it all figured out today. Or do you?
No. But it's going to be fun figuring it out.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Andy. I really appreciate it.
This was great.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the day.